Welcome to Your Money, Your Life, our personal finance podcast focused on improving your life through financial wellness, brought to you by Black Enterprise Digital. I'm your host, Alfred Edmond Jr. On each episode of Your Money, Your Life, we address the topics and issues you deal with every day as you strive to make the most of your money and the best of your life. By discussions and insights with the top experts on everything from decoding your financial behavior and achieving financial freedom to conquering debt and creating a legacy of multi-generational wealth. On this edition of Your Money, Your Life, we'll address what can be probably one of the most intimidating, negatively impactful issues facing financial wellness, and that is debt. And we're going to talk about simple steps you can take to keep your debt under control. Our guest for today's edition of Your Money, Your Life is a motivator, author many times over, financial coach, radio talk show host, podcast host, and I got to put this in there, a BE Modern Man of distinction. Go to blackenterprise.com and check out the men's channel to learn more about BE Modern Man. The one and only Cash Exantus, co-founder and CEO of Mindright Money Management. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you as always.
You know we love you at Black
Yes,
Enterprise.
sir. Yes, sir. This is my second home.
Exactly. So first of all, what's going on now? I mean, you got a lot of things always going on. What's happening with Cash right now?
Man, I mean, right now, really just focusing on, putting out more books, but transitioning into teaching. So more so online courses and, through Mindright Money Management, using pop culture, using music to really, teach financial education. So, have some exciting things coming up.
I love how you do a great job of connecting pop culture to financial literacy and education and empowerment. You got to say something about Jay-Z and how you connected Jay-Z's work.
Oh man, absolutely. I think when I heard the 444 album, I was so excited. I couldn't get past Story of OJ, which was the second song. But eventually, when I got past it, and he was, talking about generational wealth and building a business and cooperative economics, I said to myself, man, Jay-Z is somebody very influential, and now people are really listening. But he's telling you what needs to happen, but who's going to tell how? And so, I thought it was my obligation as a financial educator to really kind of marry the two. Now, take his message of what needs to happen, but now give a how-to guide, and that's how the book, The Wake Up Call, Financial Lessons Learned from 444 came about. And to date, it's been my best-selling book because of that, because, people are like, oh, I love this, but can you expound more? And really people have taken to it the fact that, these are real messages and he's a credible messenger. And now your mind is a little more open. It's stuff that, you, Black Enterprise, myself, a lot of other financial educators have been saying for years. But if Jay-Z says it, people take to it more. And instead of, running away from it, you got to run towards it and say, okay, let me use the tool to now make the message more impactful.
See, I thought it was really great because, I followed Jay-Z's evolution, not just as an artist. He was on the cover of Black Enterprise early in his career with Dame Dash. And so we've watched here at Black Enterprise's evolution as a human being. Mm-hmm. And when I read Decoded, I was like, this is just such an amazing biographical look at how a person evolves. But he's evolved with the millennial generation who's also come to realize that these issues are important, hence the creation of Your Money, Your Life in this podcast and the work that you're doing. Absolutely. So let's get right to it.
Yes.
Debt is probably the number one stressor, the number one financial consequence that really directly impacts wellness. Mental wellness, physical wellness, emotional wellness, relationship wellness. When you talk about people being under debt and the ripple effects that it has on people's lives and the quality of their lives, getting that under control is just critical. So first of all, what is your definition, if you had to put it in a nutshell, of having your debt under control?
So having your debt under control, first and foremost, means that you're using debt the right way, right? Because there are people who think that debt period is a bad thing. But at the end of the day, if you're using debt to increase your wealth, if you're using debt to increase your assets, then that is the right way to use debt, not to, take care of day-to-day activities, expenses, not to, buy things that will depreciate, not to buy clothes or frivolous things. And so I think the first part of that is making sure that you're using debt the right way. The second part of it is making sure that you're using debt and debt isn't using you,
yes.
right? Because a lot of times people, how they used to say, don't act your age, act your shoe size. Well, don't act your wage. Don't act your wage, not your want size, right? Because a lot of times people, make a certain amount of money, but they don't want to act their wage. They want to act their want size. Like, I want this, I want that, and I can't afford it. So I'm going to get in deep debt so that I can afford something, right? And then now debt is using you because it's a trap. Right, you buy these things that you think you want, that you're gonna enjoy for a few years, or
sometimes a few months.
Right, sometimes a few months, and then all of a sudden you're stuck, and now you work for debt.
Yes.
Right, you're working for debt.
You're thinking about using debt properly. I always talk to people, when you look at major corporations, they don't call it debt, they call it leverage.
Absolutely.
Because they are taking on the debt to make investments that's going to slingshot them forward in terms of profitability.
Absolutely.
And I said, so if you think of debt as leverage, as opposed to, like you said, buying a lifestyle, buying things you really can't afford, it just feels like you can afford it because you can put the card on the table. It's an important shift in mindset in terms of how we approach debt.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I'm glad you said mindset, because that's what it's about, right? Is that when we allow debt to use us, it's because we don't have the proper mindset that it takes for us to manage our money the right way. And so without that proper mindset, we now allow debt to use us. And, you alluded to this earlier. It messes with our mental health. It messes with our quality of life. Now we get, stuck in places that we don't want to be. We're working long hours that we may not want to work, all because
huge conflicts between spouses, life partners, children, and parents, whoever's in that household. I mean, everybody in the household is experiencing the crushing debt, not just the person that created the debt.
Absolutely, because when you're working hard, when you're trying to get your debt under control, now it's the pressure is there. Now you're not as pleasant. Now you can't have a great relationship with your significant other. Now you're snapping at your child if they ask you for something. It becomes this avalanche that allows you not to enjoy the quality of life. And so if you start to get debt under control, you can now dictate to your debt. Right? And then you can have that better quality of life with your family and friends.
Let's take a moment for our audience to process all this. But it's powerful insights that I really think help people. We'll be right back with more from Ash Cash and some simple steps you can take to get your debt under control. Welcome back to Your Money, Your Life. I'm your host, Alfred Edmond Jr., with Ash Cash, co-founder and CEO of Mindright Money Management. So Ash, let's get right to it. What are a couple of maybe 2 or 3 tips you could provide to our audience to help them at least get on the path of getting their debt under control?
I think first and foremost, it's a budget. I think that people try to tackle the debt first and not tackle what's coming in. And so you have to have a budget, whether you have debt right now or you don't have debt. Make sure that you're in control of your money and you're telling your money where to go. And so people need, regardless, I don't care if you make $1 or $1 million, whatever your income bracket is, you need a budget, and a budget that's going to tell you, where you're going to use money and how you're going to use it, how you're going to direct it. And that is important because as you start to tell your money what to do, you'll know ahead of time whether you can meet those obligations or not. And if you can't meet those obligations, you'll now know, okay, I need to decrease this expense so that I'm not relying on a credit card. I'm not relying on loans in order to meet my day-to-day obligations.
Absolutely. In fact, we call it budget, or at least I do, a spending plan.
Absolutely.
If you don't plan how your money's going to be spent, it will just go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's the first step. I think the second step is really creating a plan for your debt. Right. So if you do have debt, it's really getting to a place where you are now paying it down the fastest way possible. Right. A lot of time, I am a big fan of the snowball. A lot of times people say, oh, look at the debt that has the highest interest rate. We talk about mentality, mindset. And I believe that in anything you do, not just your money, but in anything that you do, it is important to gain some small wins, right? Yes. Because as you get small wins, you are now motivated, you are inspired to keep going. And so with the snowball, I want you to take all of your debt, put it together, and put them in order from the smallest to the largest. And whatever your budget tells you can afford to pay down on debt, make sure you're paying down the minimums on all of your debt each month. But then whatever is left over, you use that to pay off the smallest amount. And you keep doing that, and each month. So now you pay off that first account, and now that feels good. Right. Now you're motivated to keep going, and then you pay off the next one, and it keeps snowballing to the next one till you have that one, big debt that you're now taking care of. But in your mind, it's possible because you just went from 5 accounts to 1 account that you're paying down, and then once you finish doing that, it's time to, stick to that budget, maybe cut the cards up, maybe take the cards and put them in the freezer and freeze them. Find a way to not give yourself so much easy access to debt.
Yes. I mean, the thing about snowballing, and I want our audience to understand, it's not just paying the smallest to the largest. It's when you finish paying off the smallest one, rolling that money that you were using toward the next one. So even though the next one is bigger, you're paying it off faster because you're actually putting more money on it.
Absolutely.
And you're right. I mean, first of all, the immediate impact on your credit score, I mean, people talk about fixing their credit score, as you knock out each of these obligations, it has, within months, your credit score is going to improve even before you finish the job.
And that's the one thing I don't think people realize about credit, right? The second highest, so you have 35, 30, 15, 10, 10. That equals 100% of your score. 35% of your score is your payment history, but 30% is your usage ratio, which means that if you have credit cards with high balances on it, that's negatively impacting your score by 30%.
Right.
And so as you start to pay those down, those two things, you pay your bills back on time, no derogatory things on your credit report, and you lower your credit card or revolving line of credit balances, that's 65% of your score. So that's actually going to help boost your credit really, really quickly.
The other thing is that, and this is why it's so important to have a spending plan and to be consistent with this process, is that your more recent performance counts for more than your older performance.
Absolutely.
So if you establish a better track record more recently, that's going to weigh more than the quote-unquote mess-ups that you did before.
Oh, absolutely.
So all of those things build confidence, motivation, and obviously confidence and motivation are two other factors of wellness.
Right.
When you feel confident, when you feel good, when you feel like you're getting somewhere, all those other things we talked about in terms of your health, your wellness, quality of life, stress in that household improve.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
So to close it out, one of the things that I stress on, both in my public speeches, on podcasts like this, and we spend a lot of time, whether it's one-on-one or large audiences, trying to help people. One of the things I stress is that you shouldn't punish yourself. That part of financial wellness is being good to yourself, to forgive yourself for quote-unquote past mistakes. Or sometimes they weren't a mistake. Sometimes you just got desperate and you had to do what you had to do. But to move forward, you have to kind of forgive yourself and just concentrate on doing better. How important is that when you deal with your clients, your students, your clients, or the people who read your book or listen to your show, for them to understand the need to just be good to yourself?
Oh no, absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people don't get past the debt, right? Because they take on the mindset that, what, I messed up and there's nothing I can do to get out of it. They give up. Right. And so because they give up, what's the use? So why am I going to try to pay down this debt? Why am I going to save money? Why am I going to budget? I don't make enough money. So they start making these excuses to continue the same habits. So it's vital that you forgive yourself. In fact, I am a true testament of that, right? Someone who, I grew up in the projects and in Harlem and didn't really know how to manage money, and I messed up. I made a lot of money, messed up money, almost got into foreclosure, my first home that I bought. And it wasn't until I forgave myself, right? Because you got to think about it, I was a banker, almost going through foreclosure. It was the most embarrassing thing that I went through in my life. And I'm sitting here, beating myself up, and I never got over it. It wasn't until I said, you know what? I didn't have the background, so it's okay. Now, and in fact, what people need to realize is that it's good that you've made a mistake because now you know what not to do.
Absolutely.
And so for me, I will never make the same mistakes with money that I've made in the past because I was there. I had no money. I made a lot of money. I messed up that money. So now I know how it feels to have money, to not have money, and now I won't make those mistakes. So that's why I think it's one of the most vital things that someone can do is forgive themselves. It's okay. What's done is done. There's nothing you can do to take back the past, but just know what you need to do to move forward.
Today and tomorrow,
Absolutely.
you got a chance.
Yes.
Let me close out with this. There is no financial expert, guru, educator, author, personality who has not gone through making money mistakes.
Yes.
And if they have, they're either lying or they're incompetent. I'm saying that for me. You don't have to say that for you. Because, I mean, I had the same experience. Mm-hmm. I was the editor-in-chief of a national business financial magazine, writing and talking about this stuff all the time. I went through a period where oh my God, how am I going to keep my mortgage? Because like you, I didn't come from a background where we're sitting around the table talking about the Wall Street Journal and the Dow Jones average. So you need to look around you and not compare yourself to, we talk about social media comparisons and think, oh my God, I'm a mess. And therefore I need to give up because it's never going to get any better. So I really thank you I think you're saving a lot of people by again, reiterating that point that it's okay. We all been through it and you can get past it and you can improve the quality of your life. Listen, thank you, Ash, for being on the show and for all the great things that you're doing to inspire people with both your example as well as serve them with your expertise. Thank you for just being on Your Money, Your Life.
Thank you. I appreciate everything that you guys do and always thank you for the platform. Appreciate you.
You can get more insights, tools, and resources to improve your financial wellness, including Ash's books, at IamAshCash.com. Be sure to check out the podcast channel at blackenterprise.com to find Your Money, Your Life, and other podcasts from Black Enterprise, editors, writers, and experts. And also be sure to subscribe to Your Money, Your Life on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or any other podcast directory. If you like what you hear, and I know you liked what you heard today, please leave a 5-star review. This is Alfred Edmond Jr. with Your Money, Your Life for blackenterprise.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to listen to every edition of Your Money, Your Life. And in the meantime, stay focused on your financial wellness.